Happy New Year, Aussie Gridiron fans, and welcome to the Gday Gridiron podcast, brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network, the first podcast for the Aussie Gridiron Network for the 2025 year, the year that is 2025, and us sort of hurtling towards NFL playoff season. It is the Week 18 preview show, and all of the G'day Gridiron boys are back here in the studio with me this evening. Nick, Brad, and Isaac, everybody is here. Everybody, I assume, has had an amazing Christmas and New Year break. Boys?
Absolutely. It's always good. Christmas is one of the best times of the year, so lots of football. It was really confusing to me. Like, I was like, is this a week 16 game or a week 17 game or what day is this? And so, yeah, it was, and that was just when I was sober. So it was wild.
Nick, great Christmas?
Yeah, absolutely. It was good to spend the week. Like Brad said, it's that time of year, you don't know what day it is, and with the NFL schedule made it even more confusing. So, what day is it? It's a Wednesday. Why is there games on a Wednesday? Forget to do your tips and everything. But no, Christmas was good. New Year's was pretty good. New Year's night and New Year's Day. So, holidays over, which means almost time for the playoffs, which is good.
It's almost time for the playoffs, and at least two of us here have teams that are going to be in the playoffs too. Isn't that right, Isaac?
It most certainly is.
Congratulations to you guys.
It's okay, Brad. The Cowboys released Ezekiel Elliott, and apparently the scuttlebutt is that he's going to go to the Eagles, or he wants to go to the Eagles.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that'll put him over the top.
Can we not talk about playoffs? Brad might get a bit upset with us today.
That's right. Of course, we are recording earlier in the week, and Brad, your Oregon Ducks shit the bed.
Oh yeah, you could say that. I had it recorded, and I was gonna go home and watch it. I'm usually really good about not checking up on scores and all this and that, but I just had a sneaking suspicion they were going to get pumped, and I decided to check the score at halftime, and I said, "Yep, it's over, done."
At halftime as well, Brad.
Yeah.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, I said to my wife, "At least I saved myself 3 hours of frustration." So,
yeah, well, the first hour and a half would have definitely been frustration.
Oh yeah,
Brad would have been happy if the ISIS threats happened for that game, not the Georgia and Notre Dame game.
Jeez.
The game one more day.
Oh, jeez. It was, yeah. Did you guys see the Arizona State game,
another day, literally.
Yeah, I was just about to say that first
really
game was
good.
Amazing.
That was a great. I got up early to see the end of that, and that was worth it. That was a great game. So
That's Arizona State, Texas, for anybody out there who doesn't follow college a little bit. Ended 39-31 in OT.
double overtime.
Double overtime.
That Arizona State running back, he had a cracker.
Yeah, he was on. He threw for like a 38-yard touchdown pass, and as well. And just there were so many. And this is why the college game is so good. There were so many like last second things that had to happen that did happen. Texas, their kicker misses 2 chip shot field goals. Arizona State had to convert on 2 points. They did. Texas had a 4th and 15 in the first overtime. Scored a touchdown. It's just the college game is just unreal. So if you want like dynamic stuff, then watch college. It's amazing.
A doink to go into overtime off the post big time to go into overtime 24 all and it ends up with 39-31. That was I saw highlights of that, and I was like, holy shit, I might actually spend 3 hours watching this game.
It's worth it to watch that fourth quarter, because they were down 2 scores in the fourth quarter. Arizona State
Texas were up 16 points at the start of the fourth.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they just packed it in. And then, that's when the surge happened.
Yeah. So it's but to me, Ohio State looks unstoppable. So we'll see. But I think they're clearly the team to beat right now.
But is that not now the three of the teams that had the bye in the first week are now out.
I believe so, yes.
So Oregon's out.
And by
Oregon.
the time this is recorded, if that's including if Notre Dame beats Georgia. But then I think, yes, you're correct.
No, because Penn State played last week.
Yep, Penn State played last
Ohio
week.
State played last week.
Yeah.
So Boise got bumped, Arizona State got bumped, and then Oregon got bumped. So you're right. So if Notre Dame wins, then you're right. All 4 teams would.
The week off.
How epic is that?
Yeah, talk about rust.
Yeah.
That's a lot of rust.
Probably more so for younger players and guys that aren't pros to have that sort of rust.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Well, it is week 18 in the NFL. It is the weirdest week in football.
Yeah.
Where teams rest starters for upcoming playoff games. Teams decide to put in backups instead of starters so that they don't end up injured and they don't have to pay somebody all kinds of injury money, or they just don't get injured for the next season because they're out. So it is one of the weirdest weeks in NFL football always. But the great part about this week in particular is there are so many teams and so many games where it has actual playoff implications and big things going on, boys.
Huge things going on. There's tons of, and you're right. I think it's just wacky. It's just a really, really wacky week. And from a betting perspective, it makes it hard. And just it's hard to stay up with all the different scenarios that can happen. So we're in for a wild ride.
Yeah, and like the AFC is largely sort of done and dusted. There aren't too many playoff scenarios, but the NFC is absolutely wild going into playoffs. There's so many different considerations, and even just teams just on wins and losses could move around positions inside that 7, and it could make up who they actually play in a wildcard round and whether or not you really want to face certain teams or you don't, to get further through. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of that today as we go through our game previews. We've got 5 game previews this week. We've added an extra one. And the reason we've done that is because of the absolute standout game of the week and what is likely to be one of the games of the year, hopefully. Fingers crossed we get a great, as a football fan, fingers crossed we get an amazing game on Sunday Night Football, which will be Vikings Lions. So we're going to preview that at the end as a special add-on. But of course, boys, Christmas bonus, a New Year's bonus. Yeah, Christmas bonus sounds better. You got it right, Brad. So of course we are going to jump into games that we are here for. So our previews, we started this a couple of weeks ago, just the boys picking games that we're here for on the schedule. Nick, you're going to kick us off first because you've chosen a Sunday game.
Yes. Now, we love Sunday games here because we've got the time to be able to watch it properly instead of on a Monday when we're all at work. But anyway, at this time, it's late morning or midday, depending on where you are in Australia. By this time, the Ravens have already locked up the AFC North. They've beaten the Browns. So what does this game actually mean for the Steelers? Well, would they rather be going to Baltimore, where they got smashed a couple of weeks ago, or would they rather go to Houston and take on a team that's struggling a little bit? They don't know what they're doing offensively at the moment. Maybe CJ Stroud comes back to life in the playoffs. Who knows? But they'd probably rather be facing them than the Ravens, considering in most recent years they have the wood over the Ravens. The Bengals, it's clear as day. They obviously have to win. If they lose, they're out. It'll make Denver's job a lot easier the next day. But the Bengals obviously have to win to go in. They've won their last, 4 games now. So they've gone from, I think they were 4-8, and now they're 8-8. So literally, they've played 4 straight playoff games, quite literally. And they have been against some weak opponents. Last week was actually their first win against a team with a winning record. So it was quite interesting that was only their first win against a winning team when they're playing in such a good division. But who's going to have the edge in this game? I think Pittsburgh's defense is probably worn down a little bit. They've gone through a gauntlet of big teams. They've played the Chiefs. They played the Eagles in there at some point, I think, and then there was the Ravens. So defensively, they are really beaten up. So there is an opportunity for the Bengals. I mean, the last time that they played them, they put up 38 points against them, even though the Steelers put up 44. So it is really behind Detroit and Minnesota. This is probably my other favourite game for the week because, the Steelers are still playing technically for that 5 seed and the Bengals are playing, it is a playoff game for them. If they lose, they're out. So I think there's a big chance for the Bengals, but if I had to pick for this game, I would still probably lean towards the Steelers, even though Joe Burrow, out of every team in that division, he plays the best against the Steelers. I just think that even though Baltimore would have wrapped up the division by the time that they play, they'll be able to come through. They should tighten up. I trust Mike Tomlin a lot more. Their defense is, beaten up, but it is still better. I just think Cincinnati, that game against New England in particular, is probably what's going to cost them because they shouldn't have dropped that game. Even though they're slow starters, that game probably will cost them in the end. It could be another shootout. It could be if you're looking at the over in this game, I don't know what it is, but you probably could be looking at another over because I think it's, here we go, 48 and a half.
48 and a half.
48 and a half. So I'd probably look at that because, like I said, the Steelers' defense, it's a little bit banged up. So could be another shootout between these two teams like it was about a month ago.
Yeah. I don't think they're a little banged up. I think they're a lot banged up. And I really would love to see Burrow play the spoiler in the playoffs. That guy, he deserves to be in the playoffs. He deserves this season to not end. The dude has the opportunity to throw, I forget, Nick, if he said this or not, but for 5,000 yards. Wow. So that's just
insane.
Yeah. It would only be the 10th quarterback in the NFL to ever throw for at least 5,000 yards in a single season. And
he's currently on 4,641.
Okay, so he's going to need 350 odd yards, yep.
But that's really doable for Joe Burrow.
Yeah, you bet it is. You bet. So it just, and they've actually got a lot more to play for, and like what you said, they play really well against the Steelers. So I want to see more Joe Burrow. The guy is just playing MVP ball. If it wasn't for that guy up in Buffalo and that guy over in Baltimore, he would have this thing locked up if he had the same record.
He should. I think if it wasn't for his defense, then he would have it locked up.
100%.
That is the issue. Yeah. It's his defense because everyone looks at the team record, and says, no, that's a garbage team. But they're not looking at Joe Burrow on an island and going, he's the one that's dragging them to these 8 wins that they've got so far, and in every other competitive match where they have actually lost stuff, because it's 5,000 yards and you have a losing season possibly.
He's not the only one dragging him. Jamar Chase is there with him, and he's his main option.
Yes. Higgins last week.
I talked about this. Yeah, I talked about this on the Tuesday show with you, Ian. If the Bengals do get in, it's Joe Burrow versus Josh Allen in the wild card round. What a matchup!
Yeah, it's insane, isn't it?
Wow.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Everybody in the NFL is rooting for that.
And Buffalo doesn't want that.
No.
Buffalo this week is cheering on the Chiefs. They don't want to see it. They just we want the overachieving Broncos. That's what they want.
Yeah.
The Bills are cheering on the Dolphins. The Dolphins.
Yeah.
If Snoop Huntley or whatever he calls himself now is still at quarterback, they are cheering for the Dolphins.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's just I think if I had to pick, I think the Bengals are going to win this game just because apart from that one great game, Russ really has not had the offense has not looked that
Mr.
good.
Unlimited.
So, exactly. So unless he's got his deep ball to Pickens, there's just not much going in that offense. So
it's his only option, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pickens.
Other than a semi-good run game, it's that and chuck 50-50 balls up to Pickens. That's it.
Yeah, well, some would say he's got slim pickings there, Brad.
Oh, come on now.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. How long have you been waiting for that
you've
one?
been sitting on that all year.
Yep.
It's going to be it could be Pat Frymouth, wide receiver one over at the Steelers right now.
Yeah, right. Full on.
It'll be a big Muth game. But it is what it is. Yeah, very interesting game. Going to be a great game. And of course, if you do listen to this first thing in the morning, actually, this podcast actually will be out Friday. So you will hear this before that game, before we get any of that stuff. So not Saturday in our usual slot. You should be hearing us early. But yeah, so we've got obviously Browns, Ravens up first, and then onto Bengals and Steelers. So two very, very interesting and great matchups. All right, who are we going to go up next? How about Brad? Do you want to give us the game you are here for this week in Week 18?
Gentlemen, I am here for the game you all thought, where you're all waiting with bated breath. Your New York Giants versus, I can stop there because I've got you. The New York Giants versus the Philadelphia Eagles.
I love that you picked this one, and the reason that you picked this one is now just a moot point.
So to me it's just so multifaceted. People may be thinking, well, what's Brad smoking? Why is he picking this game? Giants being the Giants, but the Giants did the most giant thing possible last week. They had the number one pick locked up. All they had to do was keep being the Giants, lose the game, and what do? They go out and friggin' have the game of their lives. Locke is just looking. He has like one of the best ratings ever for a quarterback, and they win the game. And now they drop to like fourth, I think it is, in the draft. So even Shadur Sanders was even wearing Giants cleats in his bowl game. So
what happened was the Giants saw Shadur Sanders play, and then they thought, "Nah, Drew, go save your job. If you want to be the starting quarterback next year, go and win this game."
That's right. That's what happened. That is exactly right. And
instead at 3, they'll just take Cam Ward. So that's all right.
Yeah. Well, that's what's happened. Is they've decided that no, there's actually some depth here at QB, and let's just not go that way.
We don't want the number one. We don't want to deal with Sanders and Papa Sanders being, all that. So
they might not get a quarterback. They've dropped to fourth, I think. Looking at it now.
No, they're at 3.
Are they 3?
I've got it here as 4. I've got Patriots, Tennessee, Cleveland, and then the Giants.
Yeah, but the Patriots aren't choosing a quarterback.
No, but Cam Ward could potentially go to Tennessee.
That is true.
And then you've got Cleveland as well, who, Lord knows what happens with Deshaun Watson.
That's Cleveland.
Oh, so Cleveland's at 3. Oh, they'll 100% take a quarterback. 100%.
Because they're dumb enough to. They're dumb enough to try and ruin it. They're going to dumb enough to try and ruin another rookie quarterback. That's what they're going to do.
You got to have 60% of your salary cap in one position. So yeah. But the thing that I find intriguing about this game was the Saquon Barkley, and the potential to break Dickerson's record. I'm old enough to where I remember watching Eric Dickerson play, and it's just the idea that you're gonna possibly break a 40-year-old record in an era of football that has moved past the run. Now, granted, it's 18 games versus 16 games, so that's a big, huge factor. And any football purist will tell you that it's not fair. But you gotta you can't rewrite the record books. You gotta deal with what you've got.
But because they're resting him now, though, Brad. So he finishes on 2,005 yards. That's it. Done.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me. It'd be a very Sirianni thing, though, to say.
Apparently they're resting up to 10 of their players, their starters. 10.
Well, yeah, because you can't play Barkley if you're not going to play the offensive line.
Yeah.
And, so I just was really intrigued, and I was hoping that they were going to play all of them, at least for a half. That was my goal. And see what happens. Because, they've got nothing to play for other than this record, but it's a phenomenal record to be able to break that. So I'm sure Barkley, though, said to him, look, it's not worth risking anything. Let's shut it down and
they're
so
likely to
Barkley's the
start.
team first.
They're likely to start Kenny Pickett instead of Hurts anyway. So they're probably going to go that way for sure at QB rather than risk.
Yeah, I
Hurts.
think they were going to do that regardless.
Because there's no there's no difference to them in their standings whether they win or lose this game.
They've got that number 2 seed locked up. So
yeah. So there's no real difference.
I don't know who their third string is, but I read that Kenny Pickett was getting painkilling injections to be out there last week.
Jeez.
So they might even sit him.
No, they'll play him.
They'll play even
I
if
think
he's
they took him-
painkilling injections.
It's Tanner McKee, by the way. They have Tanner McKee and Ian Book. So, but I think that they took him off early and said that he was technically all right. He was just sore. So they took him off so that if he needed to go back on, he could go back on, but then just played McKee.
Yeah, okay. Right.
I see what you're saying, Brad, but I think that the long-term vision of what they would be saying is, they had just lost to the Commanders a few weeks ago, the Eagles. Even though that was in Washington, they're probably saying, look, let's make sure everyone's 100%, then we'll be able to go from there. Or even if they play the Packers, it was a long time ago, but, that game, was relatively close and was in Brazil, be it as it may. But I think if they can get that edge over, the Commanders and the Packers still jolting for that 6-7 spot, you take it while you can. There's no... I get what you're saying about the record, but I think the long-term viewers, that they'd rather be rested because they know that Detroit has to win. They know that Minnesota has to win to get that 1 seed. So if they get that rest, technically they almost feel like a 1 seed themselves. They just get that bye earlier. They just it's almost like they're the 1 seed themselves.
Yeah, that's right. And
The one thing that I thought would give the Eagles a little bit of pause was they were in this similar situation, I think like 3 or 4 years ago, and where they had the locked up, they rested their players going into that last week, and then they went in the playoffs and they laid a complete dud. And they said that week off did not actually help them. So I thought maybe they might play him for like a half, see what happens, and then go from there. But obviously they're not doing that. They're doing taking the long-term view and saying guys need rest, and you do at this time of the season. You need a lot of rest.
It's amazing, even after what the Giants did last week, that the Eagles are still favourite now. Even though all of the stuff is that they're resting the majority of their starters, their big starters. They're still favourites.
So Brad, who's winning?
That's a great question. I'm giving it to the Giants if the Eagles rest that many players. I'm giving it to the Giants because they know they've got something to play for, whereas Philly, they just want to stay healthy. So it's a business decision.
Betting wise, I would definitely be looking at lines for Neighbours and Tyrone Tracy, probably even Drew Lock as well. Just some fun lines.
Absolutely.
If the Giants win, they could potentially
Drop
fall
to 10.
to in the draft. That's insane. From pick 1 to pick 10 in 2 weeks. That's between how they let Saquon go. You look at that Hard Knocks thing, and then how they would have gone after that. Fireable offenses.
Yes.
They deserve it.
They definitely deserve it. They're worse run than the Cowboys. So yeah, they definitely deserve it.
That's pretty hard.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
And then the Jets walk in.
The Jets say, "Hold my bear, please."
Hang on. Let's trade for this player. He's got a 90 overall Madden rating.
That's right.
All right, let's move on to the game that I am here for this week, and it is the Kansas City Chiefs at Denver Broncos. This game is sort of a must. Well, it is must-win territory for the Denver Broncos, and the equation is simple for the Broncos: win, and you're in the playoffs. And that's there's no two ways about it. That's all there is. Win and you're in. Doesn't matter what happens to anybody else's game, anywhere else in the week. Win and you're in. The Chiefs have already announced that they are resting a whole bunch of starters, including Patrick Mahomes. So Carson Wentz will be starting at QB for the Chiefs, which I seem to think is a little bit. It's a bemusing thing for me in terms of their division, and they know what's going on, like who there is. You would think, in terms of the Chiefs, that they would want to be making sure that they beat Denver, number one, just to have that 16-1 record for the entire season. But also, Denver are a division rival, and I can't see why you want to risk coming up against the Denver Broncos somewhere in the playoffs and Sean Payton, because that we all know that would be an incredibly hard slog. Instead of someone like the Miami Dolphins, who have a much easier game against the Jets in theory. So if they win and the Denver Broncos lose, they would be in. And of course, there is also the absolute danger that if Denver don't win and Miami somehow don't win against the Jets, that the Chiefs at some point would be playing Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, which would be an insane game. So maybe there is a little bit of thinking from Andy Reid there that we go with better the devil we know this season, and we can probably get it over the Denver Broncos if we happen to meet them, whereas the Bengals in the playoffs with the most explosive offense in football right now would be a force that you don't want to come up against. So I'm really, it's going to be an interesting game. I feel like Denver might have a bit more of an edge if the Chiefs are resting some starters. It depends on who they are resting. I assume other than Mahomes, it will be Kelsey, and then maybe Chris Jones.
I think they'll probably sit. Yeah, Chris Jones another week. Yeah.
So there might be a few others as well here and there. Whereas I think Denver are going to be going out there at full strength and just trying to rip the pants off the Chiefs, because anybody this year in this season that says that they can get a win over the Kansas City Chiefs has something that they can stand tall about no matter what happens.
Yeah, skin on the wall.
Yeah.
But there's always an asterisk if those players aren't playing.
I know there is, but it's still the Chiefs, and it's still Andy Reid and the Chiefs.
Yeah. What's the spread on this game?
10.5.
Is it 10.5 now?
10.5.
I was gonna check up on it just to make sure, because after all those got announced. But yeah,
I'm surprised though that you go, Brad.
I was say the thing that makes me pause is that 4 times. So Andy Reid has been coach, I think, since 2013 or something like that. 4 times the Chiefs have been in this situation where they've rested their starters in the last week of the season. They're 2-2 in those times, and one of them they were 14.5-point dogs, and they took the Chargers to overtime and lost. But they still 14.5-point dogs, took them to overtime and lost. So really, you could say they're as close to 3-1 as possible in that, where they've rested those starters. So what that tells me is that Andy Reid has a culture where even if you're the backup, you ball out. And the thing is, they've got Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz knows how to play, and he's going to be on a mission because he wants to prove to the NFL that he can still play. So Carson Wentz is going to ball out. So I think this game is going to be a lot closer than what people think, and I think it's going to go down to the wire personally. And then Chiefs have had magic all season, so why can't it keep going? It'll be fun, that's for sure.
My rebuttal to that resting the players is
rebuttal.
There we go.
I like your buttle.
Yeah, thank you. The rebuttal to that is they're going to sit them for 2 weeks. They're locked into first. So
okay,
how many times in those games were they sitting for 2 weeks?
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
That's that where I
What did you say the other day? It's Patrick Mahomes would in theory be close to 18 days or something by the time he plays.
Jeez.
Yeah, it'd be something like that.
Yeah. That's a
So,
long
you-
time.
You're
Like,
resting
that's a long
your
time.
starting quarterback a long time.
Because they
I
haven't
personally
played
would have
since
thought,
Boxing Day, I think. Yeah.
yeah, Boxing Day.
But also, like, didn't Carson Wentz play a lot of the last game as well? I seem to remember
Was
that
that
he
against the Texans? Was that the Texans one?
Yeah? Texans? No, Steelers. Sorry. Steelers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the only thing there. I would have thought they would have run it out till halftime, pick up a lead,
Exactly right.
and then shut them down.
That's exactly my thought process.
But I'm not
That was
Andy Reid either.
Yeah, no.
I'm sitting in Shell Harbour.
I had the exact same thought process of considering they've had the extra break. Denver's just come off an overtime game in which they could have locked up the playoffs there. So they're probably thinking, oh fuck, let's go again. Let's lock it up this week. So if the Chiefs had to come out and say, right, we're playing all our guys, and then they put the game, try and put the game away early, and Andy goes, right, let's finish them off in the first half. It really makes them work for it. And Denver've really got to extend themselves to really get over the line and make sure they lock up that 7 seed. And then the Chiefs can maybe sit the second half. But that's a long time between, that Boxing Day game in which they played
24
just
to
over
25
3/4.
days.
Wow.
That's a long time.
24
That is a
to
long
25 days. I've just added up. That's how long it'll be between that Boxing Day, that Christmas Boxing Day game, and then when they would play, be it if it's a Sunday or a Monday.
Yeah, that's a long
And
time.
depending on who they play, like in that first game, that divisional, if that's the Bengals. You gotta be careful who you play with here, because if they can put up points and you start slow, it could be 14-0 in the first quarter. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you are playing exactly right. You're playing the lowest ranked winner, so it could be just about anybody in the AFC, and well, it could be the
potentially
Broncos.
Be the Ravens.
It could be It could be the Ravens. It could be the Broncos. You don't know. It could be the Chargers. Like none of
Chargers.
Yeah.
None of these could be Pittsburgh.
And you don't want to be playing the Chargers.
I don't think you want to be playing any of these teams. Like, I think the one that you would probably want to be playing the most out of any of these teams on that side would be the Texans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
They're awful.
And that would be their only one because they're not going to have to play Buffalo. But well, they're only going to play anybody but Buffalo, basically. So Steelers, Texans, Chargers, Ravens, or Broncos at this stage would be the ones. But that seventh could be, as we were saying, could be the Bengals. It could be the Dolphins if they manage to get in. So I don't know.
If the Bengals don't make it, I'd much rather see the Broncos in there. They're exciting at least and got a healthy quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think I want to see the Dolphins.
Yeah, no. Just from the standpoint of having a rookie quarterback in the playoffs, Bo Nix.
Oh, absolutely. A big fat no.
I think it would be fun to watch them. But that offense, though, could be pretty ugly.
Yeah, it could be, but their defense there is unreal.
The defense will keep them in it. It's a bit like Pittsburgh, I suppose, if they get healthy.
If they get healthy. All right, Isaac, you're up. Game you are here for this week. I think this is pretty obvious.
Is it any surprise? Give me the Seahawks versus the Rams. I just want to point out, too, that I love what the NFL have done with Week 18. There may be some games there that aren't for anything, but they've made them all divisional games.
Yeah.
Which means they actually mean something against the other team. So I like what they've done there. They've probably thought how to make it interesting in Week 18. People aren't in the playoffs. Let's make them divisional games.
Well, I think that has actually made it more interesting this season because there's quite a lot of games which matter to the playoff seedings because of divisional games.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
And
so usually it's divisional games anyway, so you've got rivalries to play against, even if they are dead rubbers. But this time around, you've actually got teams that play each other that mean something.
yeah, that's right. Which is a genius move to put it on, because people will watch. And just a contract incentive in this game, Gino needs 190 yards to make 500k. So look for Gino to sling it to the likes of JSN and DK Metcalf in this one. So in terms of the game, I think the Rams will come out and win the game and stay ahead. They want to win the game to stay ahead of the Bucks in third place in the conference. So they get the better matchup. So look for the Rams to come out and try and put the game away before halftime, and then try and get the starters out of there. If not for the early season injuries to Puka and Cup, the Rams will be in much better position. And the defense hasn't been as bad as first thought, losing Aaron Donald. We drafted really well on the defensive side, so those guys have stepped up for us.
Huge. I mean, Jared Verse is he the favorite to be Defensive Rookie of the Year?
I would say so.
He's been mega.
Yeah.
He has been.
He's unreal the way he's playing. So, kudos to them.
Yeah, and kudos to the staff and scouting staff for looking into them and knowing the guys that they need.
Yeah.
Well, replacing Aaron Donald with Jared Verse has just been genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And then
Listen to him.
I was going to say, go on about their scouting with Puka getting him in the 5th round and come out and he's broken all those records. So they've obviously got good scouting staff there at the Rams.
Yeah.
And I'll shout out Kev on this one. Look for a big game from Blake Corum. I reckon they'll give him the lion's share of the workload and try and rest up Kyron Williams for next week in the wild card round.
I think Williams is out though anyway, isn't he?
Is he?
I think I heard that they're sitting him regardless.
I thought he was doubtful or something like that, but yeah. But again, I hear what you're saying, and on paper, the Rams should win, but it's the Seahawks versus the Rams, and the Seahawks just have a way of, they love to be spoilers. They really do. It's crazy to think at the beginning of the month, or whatever, 3-4 weeks ago, Seattle had their destiny in their own hands, and they've just blown it. And it's the same thing as always. It's offensive line. So, until they address that offensive line, I think this whole Geno Smith, and you guys know I'm a bit of a Geno Smith fan. I know how much you like him, Nick. And I just...
Geno!
I think they're just going to waste him. I think if you gave him a decent offensive line, I think he could do so much more. So, but in this particular game, I see him just coming in just again, kind of being the spoilers and being Seahawks and winning this game. So, I don't know, but it'll be interesting. Because, like what you said, the Rams have a lot to play for. Yeah.
And I'm a bit scared of the Seahawks defense. They've been playing really well. The coach has got them going really well. So.
Oh, they're amazing. Mike McDonald has that defense amazing.
I think the Seahawks are going to win this game because in 2024, Jimmy Garoppolo is starting at quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo is starting at quarterback. Come on.
No way. You watch.
Is Stafford out? Seriously.
Stafford is out.
Stafford
have you not seen that today?
No,
I thought you'd be in tears when you saw that.
Stafford is out. That's what I'm saying. Otherwise, because I looked at this early in the week, like the lines for it, because I was interested to see like how everyone would stack up, like who's resting and stuff. And the Rams started out as like 3-point favorites. So I was like, fuck, that's a lock if the Rams are going to play all their guys. But then it started to move. I'm thinking they must have guys out, and then it was like Kieran Reynolds was out. Then I think Cooper Kupp's out. Then Matthew Stafford's out. So
the line's now 6. It's now 6.5.
Yeah, it started at 3. They were minus 3.5. Now they're plus 6.5. So,
plus 6.5. That would have been a great bet to take early in the week.
Wouldn't it?
That would have been amazing. But yes, they're plus 6.5 now, which is insane. And this is what I was at the top of the show when I was saying that there was games where it didn't make a lot of sense to how teams were playing it and resting players. This is one of those ones because Rams Tampa, just how close they are in the standings, it matters what happens here. If the Rams lose this game and the Bucks win, they have the conference record already over the Rams. So they jump to third, which means that the Bucks then take on the winner of, basically Commanders Packers, whoever washes out there in sixth. And then the Rams then have to play either Vikings or Lions in wildcard.
The Bucks have to win, though.
It's just the Bucks do have to win, but it's just the dumbest thing to do. And again, like we talked about with the Chiefs game, where you play your starters for a half, get a lead out, and then go. You would think that that's what the Rams, would be wanting to do. Yeah, you just think that's what the Rams would be wanting to do. They would be wanting to get a lead and then just take them out.
Yes, in a way, it would be what we want to do, but again, we're sitting here in Australia.
Well, yeah, I'm sitting here in Musselbrook, so what do I know?
I feel like they take the week off though, and they have that edge because if they do fall to that 4 seed, that loser of that Detroit and Minnesota game, that's going to be hard to get up from the week before.
Huge.
Everyone knew for about 2, 3, 4 weeks that this was the game. This is what the number 1 seed is coming down to. So the loser of that game is just coming, now we're going to do it the hard way. And early in the season, the Rams beat the Vikings in LA. So it's not like they haven't done it before. If they played Detroit in LA, it might be tougher. But still, the loser of that Detroit-Minnesota game is going to be vulnerable. So there is a chance, you get guys rested. You get Sean McVay with these guys like Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford, week off, get them fresh. Who knows what could happen.
Well, I would only be looking forward to the game if one team lost. If the Lions lost that game, I would be scared that they would put 50 on us. Now, we might get the Vikings, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Mate, if the Lions lose to the Vikings, which we are talking about in a minute, having a Lions-Rams rematch in the wildcard round is just insanity, considering what their games have been like already.
And the backstory of the quarterbacks and the coaches.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. That's exactly what I mean. It's just there's a fairy tale. It is, it's just insane. So, all right. Final game for this weekend, as we talked about. It is the final game of the regular season for the 2024-25 season. And we already talked about it. It's there. Let's get warm. It is the Minnesota Vikings, 14-2 in the NFC North. 5-0 in their last 5 games versus the Detroit Lions, 14-2 in the NFC North and 4-1 in their last 5 games. What a matchup this is going to be.
I'm just waiting for the horn.
That's what she said, Brad.
Damn it, you stole it.
Where is it?
Boys, points per game is off the chain. 26.4 average for the Vikings, 33.3 for the Lions. Opponents, total yards wise, both of these teams, like 5,500 for the Vikings, 6,500 total yards for the Lions this season. Passing yards are pretty close together. Rush yards is where the big difference is because of Montgomery and Gibbs. This is shaping up to be a ridiculous matchup, and as Nick said just earlier, we could see it on the scorecard from weeks out that this was going to end up the way it was, and things just needed to work out the right way. They worked out the right way last week when the Vikings beat the Packers at home, and here we are, week 18. Vikings v Lions for the NFC North title, for the NFC number 1 seed and the bye. Winner gets the bye and the number 1 seed. Loser drops to the 5th seed and plays somebody in a wild card round and possibly doesn't get a home game for the entirety of the playoffs. Insane.
That is, you can't get any higher stakes than that. Winner 1, loser 5. That's just, and I've got a good stat that goes along with that. Since 1978, when the playoffs expanded to 5 teams, when they had at least 5, a 5 seed, the number 1 seed has gone to the Super Bowl 49 times. Guess how many times the number 5 seed has gone to the Super Bowl?
Brad, I don't know. 1? I'll
3.
take a guess. 3. There we go.
3
I was
times.
close.
So, yeah. So, if you're that 5 seed, you've got a really hard road to get there. So, and I mean
Bloody hell.
hard. So you just gotta wait and see. This is why the NFL is so awesome. It's coming down. Here we are, week 18, and we're still not sure what's going to happen. Is there a better game than this? And I think what I also love about this game is, again, the story of the quarterbacks. We've all been over Jared Goff's and kind of his resurgence with the new team, but it's awesome to see Sam Darnold be doing the same thing. And I know last episode or 2 episodes ago we talked a little bit about, will the Vikings bring Sam Darnold back and stuff, but the dude's been playing lights out ball, and I hope it's a track meet. I hope it's just back and forth, and the fans and everybody who loves the NFL gets just a brilliant game, because both these quarterbacks, both these teams deserve it.
Do you want some QB stats while we're going?
Oh,
Of course.
Oh, yes, please.
Darnold.
Sorry.
Brad.
Sorry.
Darnold v. Goff. 41 down, far out. 4,100 passing yards versus 4,300 passing yards. 35 TDs versus 36 TDs. 12 interceptions versus 10 interceptions. So close. So goddamn close. That's Sam Darnold. Everyone knows what Jared Goff is like and what kind of player Jared Goff is. Sam Darnold is right up there.
I'll give you another one. Another QB stat. So these are the list of quarterbacks with 14 wins and 4,000 plus passing yards in the season. So Patrick Mahomes did it in 2020 and 2022. Aaron Rodgers in 2011. Peyton Manning in 2009. Tom Brady in 2007. Kurt Warner in 2001. Dan Marino in 1984. And Sam Darnold in 2024. Is that a group of quarterbacks to be around?
That's right.
What? Who would, if you had told someone this would be a stat that Sam Darnold's in 5 months ago, you would have thought, send this person to a mental institution.
That's right. Sam Marino is starting at quarterback for the Vikings. He is definitely the second coming of Dan Marino.
Oh, I love it. Wow.
It's pretty even all over the park, though, isn't it?
It is. It's so close.
The QBs, the 2 running backs now, with Montgomery out, you've just got Gibbs and Jones. They're pretty even.
They're only separated on the fact that Gibbs has got a ton of TDs, whereas Jones just doesn't get them that much.
And then the wide receivers, I'll slightly give an edge to the Vikings with Jetta and Addison. And then the defenses, I mean, Detroit's defense is absolutely obliterated with injuries, but they keep showing up, and it's a Dan Campbell way.
Do you want to know how bad someone has to be? The Lions. Sorry, this is just something that I picked up right before we came on air. The Lions, we all know, are so bad on defense right now. They're so banged up. They're so injured. They dropped Jamal Adams today.
Did they really?
How bad a player do you need to be right now for the Lions to drop a defensive back?
No doubt.
He's been like that for a
Jamal
while.
Adams, no less.
He's been bad since he got to the Seahawks.
I know. I'm just like, you can walk off the street in Detroit right now and probably get a starting job as a DB. They're picking.
Wow. Okay, last quarterback stat for this game.
Hit me with it, Brad. Hit me with it. Hit me with it.
Loving it.
4 years ago in 2020, these two, Goff and Darnold, had a combined record of 7-17. So combined, 4 years ago they were 7-17. Now they're both playing in the for the number one seed. So it's just it's awesome to see the turnaround, and I love how we're so quick to give up on quarterbacks, and everybody's saying these guys don't have it. Half 8 games into their rookie season. So in the case of some quarterbacks, Tennessee, they're right, they do suck. But but
look at Baker.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look at Baker, and great case in point, Carolina. He's turned around and he's shown that he could probably be a decent NFL quarterback. So he's not going to be a complete bust. So it's just it's cool just to see these guys making a go of it, and I love it. I really, really do.
I really think it's starting to change the way in the NFL that looking at the bust of a quarterback coming straight out of college. You've got Darnold, you've got Baker, you've got Geno. I mean, if it happens to Daniel Jones back there in Minnesota, like there's more
easy
and more
now.
that
Pump the brakes, but
there's more and more that are going to better organizations,
yes,
better coaching staff, and turning their careers around.
Yep. Yeah.
It's part of why I think Sam Darnold will probably get re-signed if it's for a reasonable amount. If his agent doesn't go ham on trying to make as much money as possible, and I say his agent because I don't think it'll be Sam, because I think that the Vikings will know that JJ McCarthy is a very good talent, but if you keep him on the back burner for a little bit and just let him sort of develop as a player,
absolutely,
and then start inserting him, then he'll be better off in the long run.
Is that the perfect case to franchise tag Sam Darnold then?
Yes and no, because the franchise is still going to be about $41 million. But yes,
but
you could get out.
You're not locked in for
you're not locked
money.
in. That's right. You could still, get him for a year for 41, and then just be out of it.
I'd do it. That's exactly what I'd do. Because so what? You're going to get $30 million for somebody else? No. Pay a premium, get him for one more year, see what you got with McCarthy.
Yeah, if I'm Sam Darnold's agent, I'll be the guy that does this. I'd be saying to you, look what happened at New York. You got booted from the league. You might not be here much longer. Mm-hmm. Go out and make as much guaranteed money as you can.
Yep. Yeah.
Also, you stay one more year with the Vikings for 41 mil. And then have another really good year, then your props just go skyrocket.
Because the salary cap's only going to go up, so your guaranteed money is going to go up. So you have another good year next year, and he's a $50 million. No, he's a
not quite.
But he'd be.
I don't know.
He'd definitely.
I'd say 50s. I'd say 50s.
I would say 40 over guaranteed over a couple years. So
There's no, if he has another
50,
good year, if he has another good year, that number starts with 5.
You reckon?
The number starts with 5 because the market will probably move again. You got to think.
Yeah,
but that number would if he has another good year. But where do you draw the line? Like if he goes all the way and wins the Super Bowl, right? If they win this week,
whoa! Pump the brakes.
Pump the brakes, mate. No, back that train up.
I'm going. Ian's very excited. I just seen his camera move.
If he's the one seed, hey, listen.
We're going for the man John anti-jinx right now. Let's.
If he's the one seed this week, you can make an argument he's in the MVP race. That's another thing.
Yeah.
And if he has another good season to back it up, how does that number not start with 5? Like, look at Trevor Lawrence's deal.
Yeah.
But I definitely would.
I would say
if
5.
for the Vikings, I would try and keep him for another year. If he wants to do a deal for less than that, and it's a couple of years, I'd probably still do that. Knowing that he'd have to go into a mentoring role, he might be okay with that at his age.
Yeah,
he might be okay with the fact that I can just go and be a backup, mentor for a guy for a long time.
Well,
The
If we
franchise
had
might
this-
be the best offer.
I was going to say, I think you underestimate also how good it must feel for him to be appreciated, to be wanted by a fan base, and one for 40, or if the Vikings offered 2 for 30, I'd take 2 for 30, just because to know you're wanted, to know you've got a coach who puts you in a good situation to win, because he's been on the other side. He knows what it's like to be hated.
So let me ask you this: if we flipped it now, if we think from Sam Darnold's perspective,
Yeah.
he's got the option of the franchise tag with the Vikings, or let's say 250 over
Jets.
5, 250 over 5 with the Raiders. What would you do?
Oh,
Oh.
I don't know. You have to consider where you're going.
Well,
That's my biggest thing always with these is you have to consider where you're going.
Yeah.
That's it.
These days, it's paramount that you consider where you're going, not like how much you're going for.
Yeah.
And I think Aaron Rodgers just proved that.
I think a quarterback to the Raiders, and this may just be my weird way I think, but I would want to know what's Tom Brady's opinion of me. Because if Tom Brady is not fully on board and thinks I'm a stud and can do it, then I wouldn't go there. Because otherwise, you're always going to have him looking over your shoulder and being, why'd we hire this guy? Why'd we pay this guy? So, it's an interesting hypothetical, but I think any quarterback going into that situation is stupid if they don't ask themselves or if they don't try and find out what does Tom think of me.
Yep.
what's stopping Darnold? Say he gets that offer from the Raiders, and he can sit there and go, I get guaranteed money, good guaranteed money. I can do this cycle again. Just I'll go stink it up in Vegas, get guaranteed money, and then come back 2 or 3 years later to a better organization as a backup, or as a what do they call it? The guy in between quarterbacks.
The bridge quarterback.
The bridge quarterback. Come and be a bridge quarterback and then make another 10 million. Like it's
Depends on the priorities, yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
But I think yeah, exactly. Depends on the priorities, and I think he kind of fell ass backwards into gold with the Vikings. He's the Kramer of the NFL. If you appreciate my Seinfeld reference there.
I love that reference.
Well done, Brad. Well done. All right, let's move on. That is the 5 games we're definitely here for this week. Obviously, finishing with Sunday Night Football, which if you're a football fan, it doesn't matter who you follow, you should be here for that game.
Absolutely.
Because it's just going to be stellar football and an absolute spectacle, and that's not just coming from a Vikings fan. So, all right, boys.
We're having a punt, having a slap, just having some fun, and then making some scratch. It's the Gday Gridiron's bloody best bets.
It is bloody best bets for week 18, the last best bets for the regular season. May take a little bit of a different feel going into our playoff games, and our playoff shows. So, boys, let's start with Nick today. Nick, what do we got for Nick's picks for week 18?
So I tried having a look at who are the incentives, who were the player incentives this week. So Isaac had mentioned one before about Geno Smith. That line was at 240. I wasn't sure with that. Another one to keep an eye out on, and I know this is Ian's man, but Mike Evans, another 80 yards, I think. And then he gets
85.
85. So another 85 yards, and I think he gets a $2 million bonus. So
You just
keep
need
an
to
eye for
ask
that one.
Ian, Nick.
Just you only need
he's
to
got
ask
it-
him.
And
he's
5
got it down.
receptions too. I think there's another incentive for 5 more
Five,
receptions too.
it's all tied in together, Nick. It's
That's all tied in. There you go. That's another one.
Receptions,
So the other one I
yardage, and
noticed-
TDs.
So the other one I did notice was for Cortland Sutton, and his was for more than 80. So for reception yards this week, over 70.5. So Bo Nix would be looking to get him the ball, particularly if they get out late and, get out early and dominate this game because the Chiefs are resting. They'll be looking to get him the ball, get him his money, and to also play some good ball before going into the next week where they'll have to go to Buffalo. So Sean Payton will be aware of wanting to get things going, but also get caught. Bo Nix will be getting his number one target for money. Next one, I'm going with Minnesota again, plus 2.5. I wouldn't mind them taking the outright win, but we'll take the security with the 2 points. Detroit's defense, I think, it's just the most obvious thing about this. Just that their defense is just all over the shop. They made us look like a very good offense last week. That they're just so beaten up all over the ball. I think Minnesota, the extra day off is probably going to help them. They should be able to lock it down. I'm not sure if Montgomery's coming back, though. So if Montgomery's coming back, it could be a bit more challenging, but it'll be a lot easier to stop the run with just Gibbs, even though that's easier said than done. But I like Minnesota in this spot. The final one, the most profitable coach in this generation as a home underdog, Mike Tomlin. Plus 2.5. He is 65% as a home underdog in his career. 65%. Against Cincinnati. Now, like we said earlier, by the time they play, Baltimore would have wrapped up the AFC North, but they'll still want to get to that 5 seed, make sure that they're playing Houston, and then they can just get everyone ready, rejuvenate, and then go hard for the playoffs. So, hopefully another 3 in a week. Haven't had one for a while, but to end the season, and then new start for the playoffs. So,
new start, yeah, for a start anew, mate. Isaac, have you got some long shots for us?
Oh, I do. So, a little bit earlier, I had Malik Neighbours over 200 yards plus a TD. I bumped it down to 150 yards and a receiving touchdown. I reckon the Panthers are going to end the Falcons season, and they're going to win outright.
Wow. Nice. I like it. Thank you.
And then Gino with his incentives, plus 200 yards.
Awesome.
I like these incentives picks. So Nick, if I could just refresh on yours with Sutton, was it he needs 80 yards and the line is 70?
Yeah, 70.5, yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking that one.
Yeah. I'm going Burrow 350 plus and 3 TDs. They're just going to ball the hell out at the Bengals. I reckon. I'm going the incentive on Mike Evans, 90 plus receiving yards and 5 receptions. We're gonna go the double on Mike Evans. Surely,
just with that one, Ian.
Yeah,
Baker's got incentives in his as well for throwing yards. So the Mike Evans one is looking like a lock.
What's the Baker incentive? I've been missing that. I should have been
I haven't seen that one.
I should have been on my boy.
Yeah. He gets 500k for some yarding, passing yards.
500k.
500.
Okay.
That's just a day at the shoe store for
Pocket change.
That's nothing. It goes a long way for Baker Mayfield.
Well, if he wants to send it over our way, I'd love it. Thanks, Baker.
In USD as well.
Yes.
Oh, 100%.
And after the tax, because he's in Florida, so
Yeah. He only gets. It's immediately halved. That 500k is 250k, and then someone else has got to take a handout out of that, and somebody else as well. And then your family wants to screw you as well. So, how many yards? What's the yards? He's got top 5s, top 10s. That's Baker's problem.
Righto.
He's got.
I thought he had a yards one in
top
there.
5 in passer rating, top 10 in NFL or top 5 in NFC completion, in the same for yards attempt, and improved passer rating. Oh, geez, they've really complicated his. Improved at passer rating, completion percentage, interception percentage, total yards. So he's got to, if he has improved on TD passes and passing yards over last year, he gets 500k for each of those as well.
Jeez.
So there's
That's
a few. There are a few incentives there. He is currently he's definitely in the yards per attempt. He's third, so he's already there. He's there for most of these. But yes, he has stated he's well aware of Mike Evans, like his needs, like what Mike Evans needs for his. More than Mike does, apparently, is what Baker said. He's more aware than Mike is aware. Right, the only other one I went is Drew Lock threw for 300 yards last week in an epic against the Colts, and I reckon Drew Lock throws for 250, regardless of the outcome this week. So I'm just going to go a Giants one and Drew Lock 250 plus yards.
I love it.
Brad, we're finishing on Brad's bangers. What do we got?
Love it. All right, let's join the gang. Bang. All right. Let's see. Sorry.
Brad, this is what happens when you give Brad a week off.
Don't worry, I got my car rego here ready to sell the car. I'm listening.
Yes. Thank you. All right. I'm taking the Packers at negative 9.5 against the Bears. So I just think. I know the Packers have clinched a playoff spot, but they can still improve their standing. And so if they win, I think they also need a Commanders loss, but if they win, and Green Bay has just dominated Chicago. They've just owned Chicago lately. So, and Chicago is like 1-10 in their last 11 games against the spread. So they're just woeful. So I'm taking the Packers at negative 9.5 on that. I'm also going with the Bengals. Sorry, they're negative 1.5. So against the Steelers, I've talked about that. So I'm a Bengals pro guy. So I think they're gonna do well on that. And then last but not least, I am taking may seem like an odd one, but the Chargers can get the 5th seed with a win and a Steelers loss. So I'm taking. They're playing against the Raiders. So their total is 23.5. I'm taking the Chargers to win to beat that total. So I'm taking the Chargers over 23.5 because again they've got something to play for. And I think the Raiders. Last week, the only one that's going to be balling out is Max Crosby. The rest of them, they're going to make business decisions. So, Chargers over 23.5.
Awesome. A whole lot of good bets, boys. Considering the week and what it is, I love that we've all dived into all these player, prop, and contract bets because it is always a great week for that. And even the commentators track that stuff during games. So, it'll be fun. All right, we are in for a massive week next week when we get to the playoff shows. We are joining with our brothers in the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show, so Taylor and Maddie, and then Manjot as well. And everybody is going to be all in together, one big room, one big show, or two big shows, really. We're going to preview 6 games for Gday Gridiron, so every single wildcard game you will have a preview for, and you will also get some fantasy games going on around the playoff. So the AGN playoff series is alive and well for what will be the 3rd season running now. So make sure you tune in for that next week. Make sure you tune in for reactions with Isaac and I on Tuesday, probably. We'll have to work that day out. If it's Tuesday or Wednesday, it's a bit haphazard. Oh, it'll be Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. Because we've got Sunday night football and that's it, isn't it? So yes, tune in for that on Tuesday. You can catch everything and follow along as always on our socials, which you'll find all the links for at Linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network. And then until the end of week 18 and the end of the regular season for 2024-25. Thank you very much for joining us. On behalf of myself, Nick, Brad, and Isaac, and we will see you later.
See yas.
The Gday Gridiron podcast is brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network, a network of Australian podcasts bringing the fun and a little bit of the Aussie larrikin to the NFL and fantasy football. Check out our other amazing productions. Australia's #1 fantasy football podcast, the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. Everything about the local game at Aussie Gridiron today. Manjot's Pastry Press on Instagram and YouTube, and Australia's very own Dynasty podcast, No Huddle Dynasty. Find links to everything at Linktree /Aussie Gridiron Network.